Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Laura Nicole with Firecracker Projects, and this is July 16th, 2016. And today we are going to talk a little bit about working with DMC metallic floss, because why not? You guys know I have a ton of it. And we are also going to talk about maybe some yarn crafting, maybe some reading. What I will do is I want this to be less than an hour. So when and if I get to reading or yarn craft, I will put in the in the description section for this video at what time the reading would start or the yarn craft would start. So if that is what you're here for, you may watch those parts of the video. So as you can see, I'm a little discombobulated today. It's just one of those days, y'all. It's just one of those days. I was having a pretty productive week. Maybe that's why, like today, it is now going to be discombobulated. So I would like to start off with my Steotchalong, which is super cool and is Game of Thrones related, I believe. So here I will insert the video I did earlier this week where I was talking about how I use the metallic floss and a little bit of me stitching. So this is my Steotchalong piece. You will notice it is further along than the last time you saw it. I finished this, what looks like a top motif, but I actually think she's giving us the pattern upside down, so this might be a bottom motif. I really am loving the little rope look. I finished this side of hair, which I think was in week 2, and I also finished this side of hair, which I think was in week 3. I had wanted to point out a few things that I was doing with this pattern that I thought might be helpful for other people. So the first thing is, years ago when I was doing the castle, somebody on a forum, and if it was you, you can let me know because I don't remember who it was, said they put their little blended floss with the numbers and floss away bags. So all of this hair is blended, and a lot of Teresa Wentzler's patterns contain blended thread. So what I do is, if I have a little bit of working thread left, as you see this one I have a lot of working thread left, I put the number of both pieces of thread on this bag. As you notice, it's not a floss away bag. My Joann's at the time did not have floss away bags, so I believe these were either in the beading section or the cooking section. I think they were in the beading section, these little bags right here, and they work perfect just for the pieces of thread, and I put the numbers. Now I will reuse these bags and just put tape over the numbers is how I'll do that. So I also got inspired with people, the floss tubers, saying they put their regular floss in floss away bags. So once again, I don't have floss away bags, I only have these. So I sort of put my metallic floss in there. You guys will remember I had that bobbination situation earlier. So on the Steotchalong, she gave us an option either to use DMC floss or regular cotton floss or the DMC metallic. So the DMC metallic here, this is E3821 is this color of metallic. I just slipped this back into the bag. I already have some pre-cut links for myself, and I wanted to show you. So the first time I did this was a hot mess, and I ended up actually stitching it in the wrong place. So I had to frog it all, to make sure it ended up in the right spot. And when I did that, I went to and looked at some tutorials online about metallic floss. And as you can see, the tutorial I used, I'm getting an okay back. This isn't a wonderful back, but I know some other people are having more issues than I am. So the first thing we need to do is put a knot on our needle. So this knotting technique I learned from creativepoppypatterns.com, and I will put a link to the metal floss tutorial below this video. So usually I stitch with about a 26 or 28 size needle, and the head of that is not quite big enough to do this knotted technique. So I am using a bigger needle. Unfortunately, that has a bigger eye on it, but unfortunately I don't know the size of this needle. It's just in my needle nest. This is where my needles hang out. As you can see, it's a little sort of broken. I bought this, my husband bought this for me one Christmas when ABC Stitch Therapy was in Grantham. Now they're not. So we're just making do. So the first thing I do, now this thread heaven technique comes from Vanna, the twisted stitcher. Vanna talked about how she did thread heaven on her regular thread. So this is pretty much her thread heaven technique, with the only exception of when you do a metal, the DMC metals, you have to be very careful. If DMC metal thread is, as you can see, it's already sort of fraying apart, is just infamous of coming apart, and if you hold it against the thread heaven really hard, it will come completely in two. Now, I probably should do something with these. I don't. I just hide them in the work and I move on with my life. However, I know there's like fray check and other things you could use. However, I don't. I know Garrett Coffee Stitcher mentioned that DMC metals are pretty thick. The metal floss is thicker than like number 4 Krennic braid or Krennic blending filament. So this is a 16 count fabric. I have to work very, very slow to get it through these holes. So I'm thinking if you go smaller than a 16, you might want to consider converting it to a Krennic. Another suggestion that Garrett gave was petite treasure braid, and I've never used that, but he says it's pretty good and he likes it. So that might, if you don't want to use a DMC metallic, Krennic or petite treasure braid is what Garrett the Coffee Stitcher recommended. So I'm sort of doing this without telling you anything. So what the tutorial on the creativepoppypatterns.com says is you sort of make a loop with your thread. Now this pattern only calls for 1 strand. So if you had a pattern that would call for 2 strands, you'd make the loop sort of like this where the 2 ends meet. But since I only want 1 strand, I do it sort of with a little tail. Then you have your loop. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. This is on the long edge of how, when working with DMC metallic floss, that you want it. So this thread is approximately about 9 inches, 9.5 inches long, or 9¼ inch long. You might want to make the thread shorter. Sorry, I bumped the camera. To about even 8 inches long. So what I do is I take the end, make this little hoop. Once again, I don't need 2 strands, so I have this tiny tail. I find it's better if I can make that loop as tiny as I can. And see, these frayed ends are killing me. But like I said, some people use fray check for that. I just don't have fray check in my home, so I use sort of what I have available to me. I'm almost probably going to use a different piece. Yes. So that happens too with DMC floss, my friends. As you can see, this piece I didn't want to use because it was already fraying. All right. So I put that tiny loop through the eye of the needle. And of course I now can't thread the needle because I'm doing this on camera. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you my dirty little secret. Normally I am a thread licker to thread a needle. And you can't do that with metallic floss. It doesn't work out. So what you want to do is take that little loop you put through the eye of your needle and put it over the top, so that loop just came all the way around. And the idea is that we are going to make a little knot. See, we made a little knot at the top of your needle. Okay? Now, that does make it a little harder to pull the needle through. However, and the metallic makes it harder to pull the needle through. So, I start my stitches normally. Oops, I'm a little over. I need one more. To where I hold the little tail in the back. So I pull enough so there's like where that frayed edge is just coming to meet the fabric. I don't really want the fraying in the... So you can see with DMC, you're not using the whole thread still. Even doing this, I'm not using the whole thread still. So I carefully pull this through, and I usually have, and you can see I'm stitching this piece in hand. This is 16 count At.I. It's not real stiff At.I. It's pretty great At.I. actually. I got it from ABC Stitch Therapy once again when they were in Grand Thumb. So I don't know the brand of this the brand of this type of At.I. that I'm using. It's not Charles Craft, I can tell you that, because Charles Craft is far stiffer. So I am more deliberate with the metal, so I can make sure it all comes through and make sure that I usually stitch closer to my face, so to make sure I'm not pulling. The more you pull on it, the more it's likely to fray. So see these little pieces that are already coming out? Well, that's above our knot, so that's okay. But we don't want that to happen below our knot. So I'm now realizing I had a mistake in the row above. So I am going back and picking that stitch up. I don't know if that's the official way to do it, but that's what I do. As you can see, sometimes it's just a struggle to get this through the thread, through the fabric. To get it stitched. So that's why I think DMC metallic is probably not great if you're doing over 1 on smaller than 16. And while I'm doing this, I am making sure that the thread below the knot is not fraying. And as you can see, it's not fraying at this time. And that's through a lot of stitches. I know other people have mentioned, and I don't remember who, so I'm sorry about that, but that they only were getting 10 stitches before they had to quit and pick up a new thread. So this really will save you a little bit of time and a little bit of thread. Oops. Not through the right hole. And I did it again. So with this knotting process, you have to stop close to where it's sort of difficult from the length of your needle to get through. And I go to that last stitch because, frankly, I'm a little cheap. So that's the last stitch I'll do. Now, how I've been securing this, right or wrong, is how I secure all of my thread. Is I go under, and with this, and it only being 1 strand length, I go under a couple stitches until I feel secure, or with this, because quite frankly it's difficult to get under the stitches or between them. I go as many as I can without wanting to hurt somebody, and I pull it through and I cut it off. And that's how I do it. And so then you can you can either work it off. This one's really warped, so I actually am going to try to cut it off. Try to cut below the knot. Or the knot itself. That was all right. Nope. Believe it or not, the last thread I did before this, and you see how it's just coming apart. This is what DMC thread just does. The metallic thread, sorry, not the regular thread. You all know the regular cotton thread is fantastic. And then I would put this in my org jar, but as you can, I don't know if you can see this, it sort of goes into pieces. And that's what will happen if you don't knot it. I've tried. If you don't knot it, this type of fraying will happen sooner in the thread. Okay, so there's that. Oh, I probably should tell you before someone asks. These fleur-de-lis scissors were purchased for me by my lovely husband. They came from ABC Stitch Therapy when it was still in Grantham, so years and years ago. So I don't know if they still have any more like this. So, yeah, I don't pretend to know everything about stitching in metallics. I just thought it might be useful for some people to see how I do it. Like I said before, the tutorial where I got that knotting technique on that blog will be in the description for this video. Let's see where I am today. I wanted to, remember last week, I desperately wanted, I'm trying to remember how this comes out in the pattern because she gave us the pattern upside down, I'm pretty sure. So this is where we are. I haven't done more on the metallic since you've seen it. I've started this band, and you know I love these bands, y'all. I'm gonna chart my own project with these bands in it because I love them so much. But anyway, because I'm a weirdo. Here is where we are. I'm still about 2 weeks behind. Still about 2 weeks behind. Good times. You know what I want to do? I want to insert here, if I can, a picture of where this was last week. So if I can figure out how to do that, I will insert that in one of those corners. So you might be asking yourself, well, you did a lot of work on the Steotchalong this week. Did you do anything else? So I did a little bit on Icarus. I still haven't finished that top 10 the top 10 blocks of that first page. I'm still loving these autumnal colors. I don't know that it's worth putting any pictures from where it was last week because it's not very different. I think there's 2 lines more than there was last week. Now, if you'll remember, I am using my Beach Romance kit from Janlin as my It's a Sunshiny Day Steotchalong for Stitch Mania. Well, guess what, guys? I only got one more thread in on this. I think it was only one more. It might be 2 more. So I'll put the video from last time in so you can see where we've gotten. Haven't gotten very much more, I must say. I'm not hating this kit. I'm not loving it either. I think it's too hot to want to do a beach scene. Am I weird? Is it just too hot to do a beach scene? Is that what I'm having the problems? I think so. I think I need this in like February because anybody who lives here in New England knows like February is about the time you get really aggravated with winter. By February, like, in all seriousness, my husband and I have had conversations about being homeless in Key West in February and wondering like how our lives led here, and like there's all these serious questions because by February you're a little bit like the 30 inches of snow can melt now, and I would really love it to be a positive number. See, we can't even talk about this in February, but one winter there was like 3 to 6 weeks where we did not even see above 0 during the day. Didn't even happen. So when it got to 0, I was so excited. Y'all, I want to throw a party. It was it was just the most crazy thing. So y'all, that's all my new stitching. That's it. That's 6 minutes of talking. So because I'm sort of not into the beach at this moment, for the rest of the month, my It's a Sunshiny Day is going to change. In Stitch Mania, someone started talking about the oldest active whip you have. And I'm just realizing now my poor bag broke. Is that sad? For my geocaching store bag. Oh, if you geocache, the Space Coast geocaching store is pretty cool. I've never been there myself. I made my mom go there one time. I actually, from there, got a travel bug for my car, but nobody's ever found my car, so bummer. So if you geocache and you live in New Hampshire, my car has a bug on it. You could find my car. Just saying. That would be fun. You could have first to find my car. Also, sometimes I might want to talk to you about that because, like, I'm horrible for leaving my car in like a supermarket, or we don't really have malls here in New Hampshire. At least not where I live. We have strip malls, but not like malls. But when I lived in a place that had a mall, I would always forget where the heck I parked my car. I am so wishy-washy. You can see Trixie Ann really wants to be on this video. She was on that side. Now she's made sure you can see her on this side. Y'all. So I have decided that, I still got sidetracked. See, I'm discombobulated. That's that. If there was a curse word in here, would that be wrong? I work with children. I should never curse. I curse in my private life. I don't have children who live with me. I don't have children at this time. So no children live in my house. And, so I can pretty much say what I want to say in my house. And I do. I used to be a casino dealer, so I know some curse words. I can curse in several different languages, actually, but we won't do that on a public forum such as Flosstube. But anyway, my husband would like to insert at the beginning of this video a little video clip that I had where I cursed at him a little bit, and I said no. But anyway, I'm so silly. So for It's a Sunshiny Day, I am bringing out the castle. Dun dun dun. I'm sorry the lighting's so weird. Like, for some reason, the sun is just crazy today. Like, it's going behind clouds. Look at this. This is now my cover photo for my personal Facebook page. I don't really accept too many people that I don't know on my personal Facebook page. Although, crazily enough, there are people who come up, like, because I'm in Stitch Mania and some other groups, there are people who come up as people I might know because they're in groups I hang out in, but also because they know people in real life that I know in real life, but we don't know each other. Is that weird? It's just really funny how things work out now. So with Stitch Mania, someone was asking what our oldest whip was, and mine is the castle. You know, I had to restore this fabric. I will do another soak after I finish it. So I'm bringing this back out, guys. And then I watched, I can't think of his last name now. His name's Brian. He's new to Flosstube. I will link his channel. I'll link his channel in the description. He was talking about, he is doing, y'all, he's doing a Teresa Wentzler. It's a sampler. Nope, I can't remember which sampler. But he's doing a Teresa Wentzler as well. And he said that Teresa Wentzler's was so beautiful, he always wants to have one in his rotation. And I agree. And so I feel like everybody in the past 3 days of my life has been talking about Teresa Wentzler and this pattern. So you know what? It needs to come back out. So this is the 4th page. So when I started this, I did not backstitch as I went. I sort of have different feelings about that now. I am not going to backstitch as I go. I'm just going to finish it the way I started it, but this is the 4th page. So I do page by page, somewhat. You can see I have a little bleed over for some colors. I used to do cross country, and I don't even want to show you the back on this, but I'll tell you why I stopped doing cross country. It has to do with all of these little things right here. This wing gets confetti heavy a little bit in the blues and purples, and it gets crazy. It gets crazy. And then this looks like it should be simple, like just one color. It's not. That's why they look so beautiful, because it's all blended, it's all crazy, but in the end of the day, you will just be awed that someone thought to do this with some fabric and thread. So I'm bringing the castle back. It's a sunshiny day with the castle. Sorry guys who are in that stitch along with me. I know I was like, I'm just doing beach romance. I lied. I'm wishy-washy. You'll learn this about me. So that's all the cross stitching, and there's no haul. So if that's all you came for, I'll see you later. Those of you who are sticking around, I did want to mention that I am now a member of Jessie Marie's book club on Goodreads. I think it's called the Stitchers Book Club. I'll link it below. Jessie Marie of Jessie Marie Does Stuff is the moderator of the group, although it's really like a group-led group, but she is the moderator at this time. I don't know what the first book we're going to read is. It sounds like it's going to be like a mystery-esque type of book. I don't know what that book's going to be. I'm sort of excited. It's sort of interesting to read books that you may not pick for yourself, and sort of like go off other people's recommendations, and I'm hoping to find something I really love that I wouldn't have picked out for myself. So we'll see how that goes. So in the book club, she asked us to talk a little bit about sort of what we like to read. So I thought I might talk to you about what I've been reading. Years ago, on Library Thing, they had this challenge where you read about all of our presidents. And you're supposed to do it within the election cycle. So in the U.S., for those of you who don't know, our election cycle is 4 years. So the idea was, like, it started on the, like, right after, I think it was right after Obama was elected the first time. I think that's how, but it might have actually been during Bush. I don't know. Anyways, so you were supposed to read within that election cycle about all of the presidents, and I just didn't do that. So I'm slowly gaining presidents. So I've read right now George Washington, John Adams. I read a book about Carter's childhood, Theodore of the Roosevelt's childhood, although that book went a little bit into his early political career and that type of stuff. So, and I also read Madison. So for anybody interested in doing this, leave a comment. I can give you the names of some really great books. I will also ask you how committed you are, because some books are far longer than others. So there is a U.S. presidential series, and I do not recommend that series at all. Not at all. Not that it's not truthful, and some of them might be really good. I haven't read all of them, but what I do know about them is that they are written by people. Oh, I've also read about Madison. I'm sorry. That's why we're having this conversation right now. So I read Madison's book from that U.S. presidential series. And what they did to accomplish the series was they got people who are historians, who really love that part of history, to talk about the president. So literally, you're talking about people who've spent their, like, this guy's probably spent his whole entire career learning about James Madison. Okay. Whenever you have a professional like that who writes about their subject, it can be really dry. So I've sort of alluded to what I do. I want to sort of embed it in things, so I'm not easily findable by my parents or my students, but I'm a school counselor. So I've read a lot of books and stuff like ADD and all kinds of things, but just to be honest, I wouldn't recommend every one of those to a parent, because some of them are so dry and boring that if you're really not interested in the topic, you're not going to get through it. I'm sorry. It's just awful. So that is what happened with Madison. It was 130 pages. When I show you the book I'm reading now, you'll understand how crazy this is. It took me weeks, because I literally had to sit down like a kid and time myself and be like, I am going to read this time. And it was painful. It was really, really painful. So I don't recommend that. So I like books where obviously the person is passionate about what they're writing about, but they can relate it to like the rest of us who haven't been studying presidential history for 30 years or whatever. So I love David McCullough. He's wrote about 3 presidents. He's wrote about John Adams. He wrote Mornings on Horseback, which is about Theodore Roosevelt's childhood, and he wrote about Truman. Now, the John Adams, David McCullough book, I believe, is what they based the HBO John Adams miniseries event on. I love both. John Adams is my favorite president. I have like all kinds of books in John. I love John Adams. Just saying. So, Adams was the first McCullough book I read, and it was fantastic. But, of course, I love John Adams, so I was a little bit skeptical because I said, well, you know, I love the topic. Then I read Mornings on Horseback. If you don't know how much time you want to commit to a McCullough book, because McCullough books are long, Morning on Horseback is the shortest. And I think it's about 200 or 300 pages, and it's entertaining. Although Theodore Roosevelt, like as a kid, had the hobby of taxidermy, so sometimes you're gonna read a little bit about taxidermy, but it's not. It's like a page or two. It's not the whole book. So, Mornings on Horseback. So Theodore Roosevelt, for those of you who don't know, and those of you who have kids with this, let them know, one of our most adventurous presidents, the one who was out wrangling cattle, the one who was out there hunting, had asthma. He had horrible asthma for his entire life. Some people grow out of asthma. He sort of did, but not really. And he was an active kid. So, looking for role models, Theodore Roosevelt had asthma. But what the reason why I point that out is just sort of point out the beauty of McCullough to you. So, I don't have asthma. My husband doesn't have asthma. We don't have any close family who has asthma. So, I know about asthma. Some of my kids have it. I've watched them have an asthma attack. It's not very fun. I get it. But I didn't really get it. So McCullough started talking about Theodore Roosevelt having asthma, and he's talking about how in the midst of an asthma attack, I'm not going to say this as eloquently as McCullough did, but in the midst of having an asthma attack, it's like drowning. Except without the peaceful knowledge that you soon will die. So it's like you're drowning forever, essentially. Which, like, holy cow. That's deep. That's deep, y'all. Anyway. So that made me understand people with asthma so much more. Like, holy cow, no wonder they're terrified to have an asthma attack, because it's like you're drowning for hours, right? Who wants to do that? That's awful. That's awful. Anyways, so he said it so much more eloquently. If you were thinking about doing presidential reads, I suggest McCullough, David McCullough. He also wrote books, if you don't want to do presidential reads, on things like, I think, the Golden Gate Bridge is he did one on. He did one on the Johnston Flood. He's written a couple other books about other times in history, not just on presidents. So I haven't read any of those, but McCullough's a pretty solid writer, so I would imagine those were great too. So we're talking about McCullough because right now I'm reading Truman. So for my work, I have like work reading to do. So I read about classroom management and all kinds of stuff. So this is just my private reading, and this has been my private reading since December. Alas, a hashtag was born. Hashtag still reading Truman. Truman is a lovely book. It's a great book. It's a great book. Oh, if you have read Truman, or you just love Truman, you're like, anyways, Truman's not my favorite, but they now, I guess on CNN, they had a show called Race to the White House, but in America, it is now on Hulu. Race to the White House. And the Truman Dewey race is one of the shows. They also had Adams, as in John Quincy Adams, who was the 6th president, who was John Adams, who's the 2nd president's son. They also had Adams and Jackson, Andrew Jackson's. Which, by the way, Andrew Jackson, the original OG, he just stood there and let someone shoot him one time. So, and then shot, like, in a duel, he just stood there. Anyway. Y'all, you should read about, like, presidents and prime ministers, because some of them are nutty. So this is 992 pages. Yes, so now you know why I said, if you've never read McCullough, and you want to read a presidential book, you might want to start with Mornings on Horseback, because Truman's 900 pages. John Adams is, I want to say it is a little smaller. I'm trying to remember how many pages that was. It's a little smaller. So there's inevitably going to be a cut in the video, because I was not careful with you and I dropped you. I'm sorry. I won't drop you again. So I love Truman, and there you go. Good book. Hashtag still reading Truman. So now I would like to move on. I'm just going to fit in everything. I love y'all, and I just would like to stay with you for a minute. I'm also going to do my yarn crafting video now, because I just can't seem to fit that in. So I'm going to do that now. So I think I've mentioned this before, but my great aunt passed away. She's my father's aunt, but really, we were all close to her. She's a fabulous woman. Anyway, she passed away in December, and we all miss her, but so she had in her house some stuff that was almost sort of completed, but not completed. So I brought it home thinking I could complete it pretty simply. So she has these. These were originally crocheted. I don't know if they were crocheted by her or they were crocheted by my great-grandmother or my grandmother, but somebody crocheted these little booties. And they're like little Victorian boots. They have the little Santa Victorian boots. I don't have the pattern for this. I have them in alternating colors. So some of them are sort of lumped together. So I have the red and white, and then I have the white and red. Now, I don't have this thread. I don't have this yarn. I don't know what, I think it was a worsted weight yarn, it feels like, but I don't know what it was done with. So obviously in a little Victorian boot, you would have little, it's meant to have little, are you reading my mind? Buttons. They're meant to have buttons on them. Okay? And I believe, because my mom had some of these they made, I think, that they just put little hooks in them. And so ostensibly I thought, oh, they're just waiting for their little buttons. I could just sew on little buttons. But then I'm like, I have like 12 of these. Let's see, I have 4. I have some of these still upstairs. 5. I have some still in a bag. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I think they're meant to go red, white, red, white. So maybe I don't have enough red ones. I don't know if I care. So anyway, so what I thought about doing is sew the little buttons on and give them to people as little ornaments, like throughout my family, so we'd all have a little something to remember sort of the good times by. Well, that was all nice and good. But I've had another thought about these, because nobody else seemed to want them. I still want to put the little, I don't know what kind of buttons. Should I get black buttons to put them on? Like, if it's a Santa's boot, wouldn't it be like black buttons on both the red and the white? Should I do white buttons? I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. Or maybe I could find pearl white buttons and then pearl reddish buttons. I don't know. I'm thinking about just putting little pearlish black buttons on them. But when you put the buttons on them, you still have this free space in there. They'll be like, see, I can, so you can put like little candies and stuff in them. So I'm thinking, crafty people of the world, of like chaining, like a green, like a, find a complementary green. I'm now realizing it's not the same red that they used in all the boots. But complementary green chain and have it almost like a garland of these little boots. And just put that around the tree, and then you could put little treats in it. Does that sound good? Anyway, but that would mean I would be selfish, and I would be keeping them at that point. So I might do that. If you have crocheted for a long time, or if your family has crocheted for a long time, so you've seen these before, what were they originally meant to be? I don't have the pattern. I don't have any information as to what this was meant to be. So if you know what it was meant to be, please comment. Please comment at the bottom. I would really love to know. Like I said, I have my own ideas what I'm going to do with them, but I have no idea what they were meant to originally do. I'm now struggling putting them back in this bag that they've probably been in forever. Guys, I don't even know when these were made. Like I said, I don't know who they were made by. But there you go. Along with other stuff that she had, I didn't take any of the books or magazines. I took only things that had been started in the yarn I found. So when I pull this out, you're going to be like, holy moly. I also inherited this. I literally inherited this project. It's called Bathroom Beauties. You were like, oh my God, you're really gonna do that. Let's talk. So, I think these were called water lilies. This is towels. These are bathroom towels. This is a J.P. Coates book. On Stitch Mania, some people were talking about inheriting J.P. Coates floss. And I actually saw some J.P. Coates floss at the Lebanon Listen. But this is J.P. Coates. I have the J.P. Coates yarn that's meant to make these. I'm looking for a copyright date because I remember copyright 1950. I'm sure whoever started this project probably started it around 1950. Okay, so I have almost everything, like, y'all, whoever started this got like almost done. So let me see if I can find one that's connected. So you have to make with variegated thread. It's actually like a beautiful project. If it sells this type of thread anymore, it's this beautiful variegated, very petite. My guess is this is probably lace weight or like size 5 or 10 weight yarn. Look how beautiful this variegation is. So you had to do a bunch, like a big flower petals and little flower petals. Okay, they've done that. There's this yellow piece, this weirdo piece. At first when I saw this, I was like, what in the world is this? Yep. See, it's the stamen. Is it stamen? Yeah. It goes in the middle of the flower. It's hard to see because they're not stitched together. They're just a bunch of literally petals. The only thing holding them together right now is a little pin. All right. Then you have, did I show this to you? Your little big petal, and there's smaller petals for the smaller towels. And then you have this long chained piece that is like the, water lilies have that. And they also have a little piece that comes, like a tiny flower that's a separate petal that's just pink that comes out. So let me show you the picture again. So I have all these little pieces. Like whoever started this was like super close to finishing. So you see that little long green piece is here, and then this is just a pink piece, right? So crafty people of the world, this is ridiculous. Like this, like I don't like, this is too 1950s for me. Like all the French on the towel, like, I'm sorry, I would never use the towel. And I don't think anybody in my family would either. However, I was just wondering if I put like if I did this design, I don't have enough to do this design, really is what's going to happen. So I probably have enough to do a towel like this, a towel like this, and a towel like this. So do I gift to people? Because I wanted to spread this out throughout the family so they could get it as like a Christmas gift. Because I thought they were just different flowers, and I didn't realize it was on bathroom towels. Like I was in the midst of grieving. I didn't really think this through. Shocking, right? So should I just put like one flower on the corner of a towel? Would that look good? Should I just make it like it's supposed to be and just not do the fringe, or is that weird? These are done on like sort of like a bluish 1950s towel. I think I would do I might either do like a dark blue or a white. I'm not sure. But basically what you do is you just sew these little appliques on. They also, in this booklet, y'all, I'm so nerdy. You know, I liked presidents, and now you know. Anyways, I wish they had done this one. I would love this one so much. These little, I might do this anyway. I love the little penguin towels. I love the little penguin towels. Anyway, I don't have that one. Well, I have the pattern for that one, obviously. I don't have, that's not what they stitched. They stitched these 1950s, whatever. So if you have any idea how I could update these, please let me know. If you sort of want to know what, so I want to desperately use the yarn that this was started with, considering like they've already been done. Now if I did this again, I would get my own yarn. I don't know if JP Coats still does this type of yarn. This is JP Coats knit crocheting. I'm lying, I'm dying. I don't know the size of it. I could probably tell you what color this is. It's in here. I'm ridiculous, I know. I'm ridiculous. So, anyways, I think these are just beautifully intricate and like crazily beautiful. And why wouldn't you want to finish that? My guess is, you know, what happens is you start a project and you love it and you get halfway through and it's now 1980 and that's no longer in style. Because I've been there. Anyways, not that it's been 1980, but all right. This is probably a mid-rose. This is probably a mid-rose. Number 46, a mid-rose. Then I also have a dark yellow. Have one of those. I have, they call this shaded pinks. And then whatever this is, I have a full, looks like a full skein of it, like a full ball. 175 yards of it, knit crocheting. And apparently I have to look back on here because I don't want me to know the color. It's a secret. That's not the name of the color. I'm so nerdy. Oh, y'all. Hunter green. This is Hunter's green. Which, by the way, now, like, this is not what I think of when I think of Hunter green. It is coming out true to life on that. It smells like my aunt's house. But I know y'all think I'm weird, but when I think about home, I think about my aunt's house. Like, there was a quality to my aunt's house that was just what, as we as Americans, like, would view of, like, when you think of, like, what would homey look like, that is the picture most people would paint. Like, my cousin says the same thing. My girl cousin, so, my female cousin, girl, she's a woman. She's got her own kids. So the aunt that had this is my father's aunt. So my female cousin is on my mother's side. So, but, you know, she used to go down, we called her Dude. She used to go down to Dude's house too, like they live down the street, so. When she thinks of homey, like a homey atmosphere, she thinks of Dude's house too. Anyway, and it smelled of like mothballs. And weird, like I'm a weirdo, y'all. But anyway, so it just makes me think about her. So, yeah, I have a whole bag. There's another hunter green in here. So I think I could probably do a couple more motifs if I had to, but I don't think, It's an ancient thimble. Not an ancient thimble, but I bet you this is probably as old as my dad. Sorry, Dad, for calling you ancient. I just realized that. I'm like, it's an ancient thimble. It's as old as my dad. Like, okay, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry if you're watching this. So look at all of this work. You can see why I would just hate to throw it out. I'm going to do something with this. If you have a suggestion of what I can do with this, if I should make it into a bathroom beauty or something else, let me know. I have some more thread to work with, so if I needed to like crochet around it or something, I could do that as well. So that's it for me. This is 42 minutes alone, and I'm sure when we insert the stuff, it's going to be an hour. So that's not all the projects I have. So each week I'll add in either what I've worked on for the week in crochet, plastic canvas, whatever. But what I have time for as well, because I have some other projects that are going that I don't always work on. So if you've come this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe, comment. I enjoy all of it. I enjoy having you guys around. So I will see you later. Have a great stitchy week.